Alpha releases the Horde as Hilltop burns. And while the survivors have an awful lot of time to talk while they're on the run, the episode is not without its moments. It's The Walking Dead, Season 10, Episode 12. Walk with us. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So, of course, spoilers coming your way, and do want to remind you about our quick jump index system in the description below. This entire review, titleized, time-stamped. You can jump to the end of the review first, you can watch the beginning last, you can watch this review in any order you'd like. So, before we jump to the episode, how are all of you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you are safe and sane in an insane world right now. Very strange in a way watching The Walking Dead. We're watching the apocalypse as we're seeing the beginning stages start around us. I mean, not really. Everything's going to be fine. But an interesting observation into the panic of humanity. Again, who knew toilet paper was going to be the big rush? It's a surprising thing. So, yeah, anyway, I hope you all are safe. Just, stay calm. Everything's going to be fine. We'll work this all out. We will all survive through this. It will be a little crazy, but, just again, be safe. Keep your hands clean. Wash your hands. Try not to touch your face. Don't go out to large gatherings if you don't have to. That doesn't mean hide up in your house. You still want the rest of the world to work around you. Just again, be conscious about it. And be nice. Be nice to people. Okay? In circumstances, we get to see, are people going to come together or will they fracture apart? And, come on. In the show itself, it really sort of looks at that from an extreme standpoint. Are you going to be fighters preying on humanity around you, like the guy that was getting 17,000 hand sanitizers and so he could try and sell them for a lot of money on eBay or Amazon? Or are you going to be like the group here, bringing people together, fighting through the world together, knowing that together you could be a better place? So be the person that you want to see on TV. Be the hero. Work with your community, be calm, help out your neighbors. Together we'll all get through this. All right, so that all aside, let's get into the episode. Walk with us. A big episode in a lot of ways, and overall I enjoyed it. There were some moments. There were some pacing issues. There's a few lost moments in a few wasted times, and I'll get into that very briefly. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in it. But look, we got a giant battle. We got to see Hilltop go down. We got to see the Horde in action, overriding fences and gates and just being scary and frightening. That was very cool. We got some nice dramatic moments. We got discovery for Magda, still alive. Great shot of her in with the Horde on that. That was awesome. The blink is like, let you know she was alive. Judith gets her own actually little arc within this episode, kind of growing up the realities of the world, not quite the romanticized version that a young child can see the world as. And of course, we get a big wrap-up of the Whisper storyline itself. In many ways, the end of the Whisper War with Negan's little final encounter there with Alpha. So, a lot of very cool stuff happening. Like I said, the real downside in there with me is just kind of the interim, the middle part. And mostly because there were some jumps within the battle that we don't see, like from the finale last week to the beginning of this episode. There's a little bit of a jump. People are in different places. They're inside. The Hilltop big building itself is burning. Some time has changed. So we kind of missed the, how did they get out of that spot? And by the same way, also we start to see that there's kind of, we can tell that Hilltop's lost. It's being overrun. and yet we don't see any of the escape. It jumps into the next morning. And to me, there's a lot of great moments there that could have been used for storyline, character development, things like that. It just would have been exciting. I get it's an expensive thing to do. That's a lot of fire, a lot of effects, a lot of makeup, a lot of walkers. It's a big deal to do that. So, from a cost-effective standpoint, if we can only see some of it, I'm glad that we got to see that. But then afterwards, now that we've assumed, escaped and separated, it's a lot of walking and talking. Which, if you're kind of on the run, you should do that a little faster. And at that point, do you have to go too fast? Because, how fast can walkers move behind you? It just felt like a weird loss in the middle of momentum and story. It did pick up, and again, some great moments there with Judith. We get to see Mary's whole kind of like finishing arc. So, like I said, there were some really good moments in here. Overall, I liked the episode. There was just, again, some time jumps, some pacing, some loss, some choices that were made in storytelling that I thought didn't really feel right to me. It felt a little jarring. So that's really my only criticism. All right, so you basically have kind of 4 groups in this episode. You've got Mary, Alden, and Kelly. You've got Magda, Nico, Carol, and Eugene, I guess, is with this group. You've got Judith, Earl, and the rest of the kids. And, of course, you've got Negan. Technically, yes, there's Daryl and Jerry in that little group, but they basically just serve as a jump around in the episode. In fact, that's one of the frustrating parts about this time jump that they did with not seeing the escape and not seeing what happened to everyone and catching up with the next morning. That's a lot of time that I'm assuming has happened between where we last saw the battle and now, and how everybody got out and where they all went and why they're so separated. And yes, at least they've got a meet-up plan, but they're all taking their sweet-ass time to get there. Yeah, and to be honest, the whole worry about the kids didn't get to me as much, because while there could have been a little bit more to it, they're like constantly, Ezekiel's got the kids. They get to the spot, they're not there. They automatically don't run. They go all the way back to Hilltop, through all these crowds of walkers and stuff that everybody else is avoiding, find Ezekiel, who just happens to pull himself out from underneath a piece of metal. And they go, Earl's got the kids, and they know exactly where to go. Which is kind of a bummer, because it seemed that they had set up as that Earl and the kids were hidden in this place because they were surrounded by walkers, and this was sort of a thing to get away from. So that Ezekiel knew exactly where they were, or everyone else did. It was just, it kind of undercut that. But that's really the only purpose that Daryl and company kind of serve in this, is to be background runners while all the other kind of scenes and storylines sort of take place. So let's actually, let's start out with Judith, because there was some real nice stuff with Judith, and I harp on her a lot. Starting out with, of course, in the big battle where she has her first actual kill. She has said that she wants to fight, that she wants to be there. Of course, she's a young kid, not the adults want her to actually be in the middle of the fight, and this is why. Walkers are one thing. They're monsters. A person is something else. And, of course, dealing with the walkers, you will find a whisperer, and that ends up being Judith, what I believe to be her first actual kill. And shocking, and played very well. And like I said, I really liked Judith within this, and that starts her sort of arc of really growing up. To me, Judith has been annoying only when she's been overly pretentious. Sometimes it works when she's messing with you, but a lot of times it's just too much. For a kid growing up the apocalypse, I always thought they should be a little more grounded down, and maybe this is where we're giving Judith her grounding down. She kills first she has to kill an actual person. And that sort of starts her arc. And then, of course, we end up with Earl, who I had a feeling was not going to make it through this episode. being bitten, got all the kids, got Judith, and hiding out. And making a poor decision to impale himself. And look, I get it with Earl. And he doesn't want to force any of the kids to do it. He wants to take it on himself. However, they do, like I said, start that scene looking out. They're surrounded by walkers. That's why I'm, as an audience, thinking that why they're hiding in there. So when he goes and knocks over the tear and starts pounding into the spike, I'm just like, shh, be quiet. And then the idea, look, it's a noble idea to want to impale yourself and take yourself out. Great. But as we saw in the episode, not as easy as you think. The human body does not want to die. Strong survival instincts will veer off of such points. That's why jumping off a cliff is one of those things, or bridges, it's one step and you're done. You don't have to aim and use strength and I mean, really, shouldn't you have just snuck out there and ran and draw the rest of the walkers off? Would that really have been his best choice? He could have, pulled stuff away from the kid. Anyway, well, I may have differences in opinion in his choices there. The best Judith scene so far that she has been in. Just the moment where she comes in is like, you lied to me, and we could see that all that sort of happened. It's just that bit of not wanting to, and the emotion, and God, that tear coming down her face. The camera was right on her, and she was holding that moment. Really, this is great character stuff. I was totally impressed. Like I said, I know I harp on Judith, but this was awesome. This was a great scene, a great character bit. She owned it. She was there. It totally played. And then, of course, afterwards, when he reanimates and she has to deal with that. Again, just a great bit of scenes. One, not having to... We didn't have to see her really take Earl out. Just the moment where she had to make that choice. And having the effect afterwards with Daryl coming in and just seeing her just sitting there and him knowing what had to happen, it was just, that's when less is more, I think, in storytelling. I didn't think anything more needed to be said. I think physically, the characters owned that moment. The emotion was there. It was beautifully done. I did think the kind of fake out with is, are we going to open the door and find out, and then the kids run out? The kids know it's them. Why don't they run out before? Anyway, again, small harp. But yeah, the whole Judith bit right there, really nicely done. I like where this is going. Mary, again, having her own arc, wrapping up her arc effectively in this episode. And, I think, again, done in a nice way. Wasn't too dragged out. There were a few moments, but for the most part, I think this kind of worked. Baby crying, she knows how to help. Alden pushing back, doesn't want, giving those small little moves in quiet. Obviously, if you're if you're a whisperer amongst walkers, keeping a baby quiet is a skill you develop quick, or you don't have a baby, or your sister doesn't in that moment. And sure, we did, I guess, had to have that kind of emotional connective bit where they sit down and have a rest, and Kelly's asking about the sister, and we get her name, and how much she loved, and all of those kind of emotional bits. We've got to do this, I guess, considering where it's going. But it is around this point where I'm starting to think that everybody is starting to take a long time to get to wherever they're going. Again, you got walkers behind you. It's not like they're quick. Though, we did already see, Negan catching Lydia running through while he's sort of in his cleanup right around. So, how far everybody got and where they are, again, we don't know. And again, I think that's one of the downsides of some of the decisions that were made about not seeing anything about their escape. Now, I did really like that Mary had a sense of when either walkers or whisperers were coming. I just like that, listening. Is there a change in the forest and the bugs and the sounds and anything else? I liked that. That was kind of a cool bit. And ultimately, we end up having Mary's hero moment, The walkers catch up to him. She shoves everybody in a van, draws the walkers up, has a great final battle fight, taking out walkers around all by herself. It was beautiful. And that's when you knew it was over. We know, when you take that moment in the sun of appreciation of seeing, oh my God, I survived, I did it. That is the kiss of death. Always, every single time. So I was kind of bummed out. I was just like, stop celebrating, look around. You're going to turn around and someone's going to... And that's exactly what happened. Beta caught up and kills Gamma. You will walk with us. Bring her back in one way or the other. So, kind of a sad way to see her go. But I really loved how they wrapped it up. How when she does get reanimated, and rises up and is about to go, and Beta's kind of like had that moment of victory, that Alden takes Mary out, takes Gamma out, puts her in the head, doesn't allow her to become part of the Horde. Since he had gone after her so much, but then appreciated how much took care of the baby, and was really kind of hoping Mary would kind of maybe get accepted in the group. Of course, you can't. You have villains that go too far. They've got to be taken out. It's one of the rules of story writing. But I thought that was a nice character bit to sort of wrap up an appreciation, to give that kind of finality to the arc, to Mary's arc, is that, yes, she was able to completely turn. She saved her nephew. She made sure that he was in a safe place. And in turn, she will not be joining the Horde. I thought it was kind of pretty. And Magda survived being in the caves. Like I said, wonderful shot of her appearing in the Horde. And so even better is the moment of like, oh, there's someone. Is it a whisperer? Is that Magda? Has she turned? And then she blinks. Which, walkers don't blink because they're dead. They don't need to keep their eyes moist. Which I thought was just a beautiful way, because otherwise I was like, you got the arrow, take that one out, it's a whisperer. Oh no, it's Magda. Oh my God, Magda's turn. Oh wait, she's alive, don't shoot her. It was a nice sequence. I really liked how that brought up. And I like that we kind of got the little story of what happened. Trapped in the caves, trying to get out. Connie was with her. They turn a corner and they're suddenly in the midst of the Horde. They move with it. They just get separated. So is Connie still alive? Potentially, yes. I like how everybody's good with walking with walkers now. They've all just learned how to be with the Horde. It's a good skill to know. I mean, ultimately. Negan can teach that class later on. So that was kind of cool to get that bit. The undercut, and I like the scene between Nico and Magda, and them kind of like connecting and telling that story and reaching out, and the patience that was there in that moment. That was well done. It was emotionally very, very, very nice. But this is the real part where I was like, God, these guys have a lot of time while they're on the run to catch and talk and to catch up and everything. And yeah, Carol's whole bit, and sometimes we tell these stories and we have these bits inside in films to keep the emotional connection from the audience in with the characters, and also to move the plot forward. It's story and plot moving toward, plot being the sequence of events that have to occur in order to get from A to B, where story is the emotional journey with the characters within that, and changes and arcs and moments that invest us in with the action, with the story itself. And some of these bits, the story and the plot line have moved themselves forward. This was one moment where I really felt that plot was thrown to the wayside just so we could have these character bits. It was good to know what happened with Connie. And yes, we're going to have the inevitable Carol running into everybody and all being mad and stuff like that. But because they were on the run and they were taking this moment to tell a story that did not immediately affect what was going on in their world around them, it felt very much pulled back. Even Eugene's whole discussion afterwards about his choice that he has to make, and he's running out of, he's going to run out of time and he's got to stick with his obligations. Kind of is this the time to have that conversation? You've got a week to get to West. You were just attacked. You got a day or two maybe to sort this out before you got to be riding like hell on horseback or whoever. I don't know how far the distance is from where they are to this West Virginia meeting point. But all of those just... You're on the run. You just finished a battle. Walkers are behind. This does not seem the time to have these particular conversations. And so to me, this was the point where everything really kind of slowed down. Sure, Carol got punched in the face. Great, maybe she needed that. And ultimately we see that Magda and Nico do break up, but they're both kind of okay with it. So, okay, that bit of story goes on. But for the plot, for the whole running for your lives to meet up after the Horde is after you, to me, this was the point that really dragged that away. All right, and then we've got Negan and Alpha, the unexpectedly quick wrap-up of the Whisper War. Sort of. Again, beta's still out there, but effectively it happens here. And this, to me, was the opposite of what I was talking about before, of storytelling and stuff that doesn't relay into the immediately moment, into the plot, the development of this particular section of storyline. The previous, what I was talking about with Magda and Carol and Nico there, that there. This scene, complete opposite. We've got... I like that they quickly had the whole, here's Negan, oh, spots Aaron, has that little issue, sees Lydia, grabs her, sets up the, I found what you're looking for, and moves that. I love that that happened quickly in the episode, so we didn't dwell all of this. It gave moments between Negan and Alpha, and like I said, this is where that type of storytelling really plays in, because we get a great in-shot of Negan kind of testing Alpha. I mean, ultimately at the end we find out exactly what was going on, but the whole discussion here about love and emotion and what you want out of the world, here Negan was testing Alpha and really kind of ultimately what I think finding out, am I really going to take you out or not? I mean, I think ultimately he realized that I think he had a certain connection with her. I think, again, a survivor, a strong survivor that leads people, that has a committed viewpoint and so on. There was a strength there, I think, that Negan recognized and appreciated. But this whole bit, as he again, coming down to the point of, will you kill the one that you love? How strong love is and how important that is. And would you be willing to sacrifice it? It was a great bit. We get a nice, clear shot. I don't know how much we've actually known about Lucille's fate, that it was pancreatic cancer and that she did die before. And I think they've implied this. To me, this was a bigger storyline of telling that, the more complete story of getting that emotion, and how he just sort of broke down and death and what he meant, and then how she's asking, yeah, and you would have gone with her if you could have, but you couldn't. Again, very emotional, very strong, very inquisitive. Each character seeing how they respond to the idea of love. While Negan would be willing to die to be with his wife, he cannot understand that Alpha would kill his daughter just because she thinks differently. And all of those moments pressed that point up until the very, very end. I mean, again, when Negan's talking about his wife and she's pushing about you would have been with him, and the pain and hurt on his face, God, Jeffrey Dean Morgan just both him and Samantha Morton, really, to have these final scenes together worked perfect. They were all pulling it out completely. So when finally we get that Alpha has committed that she's going to go and kill Lydia, Negan can't let that stand. And that's... Look, it is our Scene of the Week for this week. No doubt about it. Emotional, beautiful. Honestly, Alpha looked the best that she's ever looked. They put a little makeup on her, I think. They sort of cleaned her up. I mean, Samantha Morton is a beautiful woman. Alpha definitely is not. She is rugged. And just having that moment, that emotional intensity, that quietness. And you could see it hurt Negan to do it, but he had to. Because she's wrong on every regard. And it was beautifully done. And they took their time with it. And that is emotional storytelling that moves the plot forward. That makes it real. And then, of course, at the end, we find out, surprisingly, who let Negan out of jail. It was Carol to go kill Alpha. So, plans within plans, and a great final bit of just the head throwing down and Carol looking up with, took you long enough. Just beautiful. But God, Carol, you've got to clear things up with Aaron. Really. Alright, just a couple of small things. Who did Beta kill? Was that his buddy from the institution, the drug rehab, or maybe someone from there? Just as Mary goes out, a whisper comes up. You know, Beta's pulling up half his face. The whisper comes up. It is you. I thought I recognized the voice. And Beta just takes him out. I don't know, is that going to come back and bite him? Is he going to realize who it is he just took out? On the other hand, if this is someone that knew Beta from before and he's a whisperer, what, it took you till now to say something? What is the recruitment? How often are people there? How long have people been there? Beta is a hard guy to miss and seems to be the enforcer, so I would think, and he talks a lot, even if it's the low and grumbly kind. I don't know. I'm really curious. They kind of didn't go any further with that. I'm sure they will need to because Beta's ahead of the Whisperers now. But yeah, all I was thinking is this his buddy from the Institute? But I don't think so. I think that guy maybe died. But also, again, we get, oh, it is you. Use names. Don't do the pronoun game. I'm sure if you said like Bob, that might have gotten a better reaction. Just saying. Oh, okay. Well, one thing at the beginning battle that did throw me off is Eugene running back for the radio parts. I mean, I understand his motivation. He really likes Stephanie, but you've already got a meet set up, and the whole place is on fire. You're telling me that in the midst of all of that, you're able to go into the building, get all the way upstairs to the attic, try and steal some stuff, and get all the way back down and out. I don't know. It just was odd to me. Frowny McTwo-Knives. Perfect Negan name for Beta. I'm going to remember that. Frowny McTwo-Knives. Oh, also since we're talking about that, I loved Negan getting sent up to herd and gather walkers, and just, that is just not his thing. He gives it one shot, two, after that, he's just happier just taking them out. Sorry, I forgot, my bad. The next one. Yeah. Oh, hey, we did finally get to see those catapults being used. Of course, it was after the walkers all came in. The place was on fire. Seemed a little late for catapults at that point. But, hey, we saw them. All right, and our fan question of the week comes from Pelican Mike. Thanks, Pelican Mike. Who has asked, Have I read the comics? Do I know where certain storylines are going? That's an excellent question. Yes and no, effectively. I've read a little bit of the comics. I had a good buddy of mine that was huge into Walking Dead when the comics first came out. Talked to me a lot about them. I got to read some of his. And then when the series got created, again, really kind of bit of a resurgence. And I've done some research over time. So from what he has talked to me about of oozing over Rick and company, everything that has happened, I understand where some of the storylines are going. I understand some of the characters. I've read some of the bits. So I've got an idea of things, but I don't have a whole lot of specifics. I haven't really read any of the comics in years. And I kind of like not knowing. I kind of like that new discovery. On the other hand, I also am a voracious researcher. So there are times where I'll start looking up a character and I'll go down the rabbit hole and I'll find out all sorts of things to be looking forward to. For instance, I didn't know that in the comics Negan does kill Alpha. I didn't know if they were going to do that or how that was going to work itself out. And the fact that how they integrated this particular storyline of a sort of redemption arc for Negan, though also a job that he was doing. I thought was a really good way of doing this. And again, because the show does sort of mix things up a little bit and twist and change some things, there are always certain surprises. So, however, the next big storyline in the larger world that Stephanie is connected to, outside of a brief idea, I don't know much on the specifics of that, so that'll all be sort of new to me. So, yes, I understand some things. I've read some of the comics, but especially now, most of the stuff going forward, yeah, I have no idea where these storylines will end up being. And it's exciting. All right, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So, okay, again, Whispers aren't gone. Beta's still alive. However, with Alpha dead, that does sort of put a big in the Whisper war. At least a nice pause moment before crazy Beta revenge goes into line. So next week, it looks like we are going to catch up with Michonne. And this is Denai Greer's final season. So this may be, I don't know how many more episodes we'll actually get from her. Maybe next week may be it. Maybe one more. But I don't know if she's going to be in the final 4. And there's only 4 left. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see what happens with her. And does she move on? Or is she taken out? Wait to see. Anyway, gotta wait next week to see that, but we will wrap things up, like I said, for now. Thank you, as always, for joining me with these reviews. And if you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, throw those down in the section below. What you guys think about this episode? Where do you think we're going forward? And, of course, any fan questions you have, throw them in, and maybe we'll choose you for next week. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Now, also tonight, we do have the premiere of Season 3 of Westworld. So, review for that will be dropping later. Those reviews are probably going to end up being more of a Monday morning thing as opposed to Sunday night, just from a time-wise situation. But really looking forward for the return of that. So, please come and check that out as well. And if you're not a subscriber, it's easy if you are a subscriber. You'll get notifications of whenever these reviews drop. You can do that by hitting the bell. And, of course, hit this button right here. Join the team. And we'll throw up a couple of our latest reviews right here for you to check out. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.